guys, my name is Elena and this is my husband Justin, and today we're going to be talking about a super exciting topic about how we paid our house off in less than 5 years. So we have a bunch of like background information, just like little details that I kind of want to get out there for you guys before we hop into like the actual process and different things that we did to save money and to be able to pay off the house so quickly. So let's hop into the background and let me tell you a little bit about us and how we got this house. So we bought the house in May of 2015 and then we got married the very next month in June, and we had zero debt together when we got married. My husband had bought his car a couple years before we got married and had paid cash and had that all taken care of, and I've owned the same car since like my senior year in high school, or maybe even my junior year in high school, so I've had that car for a long time. We didn't have a big wedding. We definitely spent less than $500, and I feel like it was closer to maybe just like $200 or $300 that we spent on the wedding altogether. The dress that I bought was only like $30, and we got it on eBay after I went to the mall with my sister and picked out a dress that I really liked. I found out what the brand was and was able to find it on eBay, and it was super cheap, so that was definitely a big plus. Really, the only big expense we had at our wedding was buying the beer kegs for the party part. We went to the courthouse and got married and just had my little family there with us, so we didn't have a big church wedding or anything like that. And then we held the reception at my parents' house in their big, beautiful backyard. My parents actually gifted us the food for the reception, so that was a big cost that we didn't have to have, and it was just a big like buffet style thing. So I was happy with our wedding. Were you happy with the way things went?
I thought it was perfect.
The only thing I would have changed is I wish somebody would have filmed it, or I wish we would have vlogged it or something. I wish that we had the event on film, like at least the reception part. But I mean, I was totally happy with having a very low-key wedding. So this house that we bought was a foreclosure, and we got a super awesome deal on it. We only bought it for $103,000, and we live in like the rural-ish Midwest, like outside the St. Louis area, so things are pretty cheap out here. And we didn't really have like a down payment. I think we maybe put like $1,000 or something down on the house. It wasn't a bunch of money.
Yeah. And then as far as fixing it up, you know, we were able to do almost all that on our own. You know, I got paint from work. Her dad's friend was a painter. He painted it. We all painted it like in one day. Did the whole house, doors, trim.
Yeah, we had everybody, like our parents and my sister, and like everybody came to help.
Yeah, everyone painted it. And then, you know, I just lived across the street, so we'd be over here almost every night, you know, putting the doors back on, putting door handles on, patching walls, doing whatever we could. We did pretty much everything on our own, and that was also a big money saver because, you know, like my parents, they do flooring, so they came in, redid the flooring. They got us most of the flooring, so like just that alone saved us probably couple $1,000 just fixing up the whole house. And then even our wedding present from her work were new shingles, and her dad and I ended up re-roofing the house. That was another huge expense.
Yeah.
And just, you know, I think a big part of trying to save money is what you can do on your own.
Yeah.
And connections that you have, like knowing people that know how to do things or that can get certain things just makes a huge difference on, you know, maintaining the house or fixing it up or whatever needs to be done. And I think that's another big key part on why we were able to save so much money.
Yeah, because there was a lot of just like tedious work that needed to be done. There wasn't anything major, like the house wasn't crumbling or anything, just a lot of like making it look nice as far as fixing it up was concerned. We even bought like our appliances and stuff, the fridge and the washing machine, stuff like that. That was all from Craigslist, so we didn't buy anything new, and we didn't have any loans or anything on any of the appliances that we bought. And Justin had mentioned that he just lived across the street, so we live in the middle of nowhere where it's cheap to live here, but it's not like we sacrifice to live out here because Justin grew up in this town and his parents live literally like a 10-minute walk from where we live right now, and my parents owned some property on the other side of town where they were going to be building in the future anyway, so it wasn't like a sacrifice for us to move out here because we had family out here anyway. Like seriously, if we had bought this exact house like just 15 minutes to the east of us, it would have cost us another 50 grand easy.
And a big thing that also helped was her dad helped negotiate the house, so we weren't really exactly ready to get the house, and he ended up buying it cash. And I think that's another big thing why we were able to get it so cheap, because he bought it cash. They probably gave him a better deal because I think it'd been sitting for a while. And then so we ended up getting the loan from him.
So since he was offering cash versus somebody else who would come in trying to get a loan on it, my dad probably had a better shot at getting the house since he had the money in hand to buy it immediately. And then we bought it from him and had a real mortgage through the bank like the very next month. We did get a 15-year mortgage on it because from the very beginning we knew we wanted to pay this thing off as quick as possible, and so we got the least amount of time we could on the mortgage just because we knew we were going to be paying it off. Our goal had always been around 5 years. So our payment was about $1,000 a month, just our basic payment. It changed every year, from 900 and something to a little over $1,000 every month, but that was our, minimum payment. My dad did give us the tip to make sure that we bought a house that we could afford even if one of us lost our job. So I think that's a super big important thing to mention. If you are buying a house that only one of you can afford on their own, the other person's income goes straight to the house, So if Justin is the one that we live off of, all of the money that I was making was just extra money that we had. So that's how we were able to more than double our monthly payment every month, because we bought something that only one of us could afford by ourselves. So everything extra was just extra straight to the principal of the house.
And then one big thing that when we originally always talked about this, we were planning on waiting to have kids until after the house was paid off. And I'm really glad we didn't, because, we got a lot of hand-me-downs, clothes, toys. So it wasn't really very expensive to have the kids because, especially the first couple of years, they're just eating what you're eating. She made all their food, when they were eating baby food.
I made baby food. Yeah.
It was just, so having kids really isn't a big factor. People say, well, I got kids to take care of. Well, if you can do it smarter to where you can save more money. And I think that was a big thing for us.
But I think that having kids at least me personally, made me think more about how I was spending my money and focus more on the family versus just the things that I wanted. And also when you have kids, you just don't have the free time to go out and go to the bar on the weekends or go out to shows and stuff. That kind of stuff is more limited, so you're not spending money on entertainment stuff because you can't really just leave the house and do fun things when you've got 2 kids to think about.
Yeah, you got to think about who's going to watch them and if they can, and so you just end up going, we'll just stay in.
So we knew we were going to be getting married the very next month when we moved in. So we didn't buy a lot of little things like pots and pans or dishes or little stuff like that. We knew we were going to be getting those as wedding gifts in a month. So we literally lived on 2 bowls and 2 plates and a set of silverware for the first month that we were married, because we knew we were going to be getting all of those little items, or at least a big majority of them at our wedding. And we just kind of stuck it out for that month and just kind of lived really bare minimum. And we had been planning ahead too. So Justin had gotten me a pots and pans set for Christmas, maybe the year before we moved in. And so we had that kind of figured out. Our parents and my grandparents gave us glasses and stuff like that. So we
vacuum.
Yeah, we just had a bunch of random stuff. We were when we were still living at home, we were kind of already accumulating little things that we knew we would need when we moved out. Even furniture and stuff. If somebody was moving and they had a random set of furniture that they didn't need, we hopped on it and stored it in my parents' basement until it was time to move out, because we knew we would need that kind of stuff eventually. And that's another thing. We didn't buy any big new furniture or anything. The dining room set came from his mom's, the couch came from my sister's husband's family, little stuff like that. We didn't spend money on furniture and stuff when we moved out.
Yeah, I had a crappy little entertainment center under our TV. Which
it was for bad. 4 months or something. Yeah. It was really ugly little.
So even now to this day, we still everything we've had was pretty much given to us. We bought a new couch 2 years ago, and I bought a newer entertainment center. That was the first really thing that we bought, was the entertainment center. But other than that, we're not necessarily we have to have new stuff. We're fine, if it works, it works. We'll keep it.
We just recently got a new kitchen table and chairs and a little hutch, and I hated our old one. It was ugly. I was not a fan. It was kind of mismatchy, but we dealt with it for 4.5 years until I just so happened to get this other set that came from my grandma. We'd have made some bigger-ish purchases, but nothing really crazy. When we first moved out, Justin had a super crappy little lawnmower, so he wanted to get a better one, and we did get a lawnmower with 0% interest, and we ended up paying it off in like 3 months or something. So that was one of like the big purchases that we did make like as soon as we moved out. And like you said, that little entertainment center, we were here maybe like 4 months or something before we bought that little entertainment center. And then right before Eren was born a couple years ago, we bought the couch in the living room. So those were really like our big purchases that we've made. We haven't bought new cars or anything crazy like that. Even we did buy a washer and dryer when I think our dryer went out, and we said we'll just replace the both of them. But my sister's husband works at Lowe's, and he ended up getting us a good deal on, were they damaged or something?
Yeah, so he basically, they'll have like a section where stuff's damaged and they'll mark it down. Well, he'll be able to mark it down even more if it's sat for a little while. And luckily they were perfectly fine, washer and dryer. I think they were returned.
Oh, yeah.
And he marked them down. I think we got them both for like $350.
Yeah.
Total.
So that's pretty much it for like the background situation, just like the life that we've been living and how we got into the house and stuff like that, like how we started off. And now I have a bunch of other things that we do to save money every month that we've been able to put the extra money toward the house. So first of all is budgeting. And we didn't do like a budget where we had like, you know, I only had $400 to spend on groceries or whatever. We would just total everything for the month. And then once we got to like our monthly limit, we didn't go and do fun things. So if it was like the last weekend of the month and we had already spent all of our money, we didn't go out to dinner, we didn't buy new shoes or whatever, you know, we didn't spend anything until the next month rolled over.
And that's a big thing making this video, is a lot of people, like a lot of my family, everyone, they think there's some big secret, you know, like how'd you pay your house off, you know. It's really just learning to like live without certain things. And luckily her dad was the same way, and he kind of like went over everything with us, and that's really what opened our eyes to understand how it all worked. And so if you'd sit there and not go out to dinner, you know, once a week or twice a week, or, you know, get rid of your satellite internet, or not internet, just satellite TV, you know, that stuff adds up. And, you know, for us, you know, we got internet, we have Netflix, and we have like a couple other free ways to watch TV. And then, you know, we don't go really out to eat. Like we might go every once in a while, and just, you know, it's all that stuff builds up, you know, especially when you got kids and they're older. You're going to go out, you're going to spend like $60-70 just go out to dinner most of the time.
So like Justin was just saying, we don't have cable. We have Netflix, we have other streaming services, and I'm totally happy with that. We have an antenna for our TV, so we get the basic like 7 channels or whatever, and we watch those.
It's like 30.
There's no way.
So,
oh, well, like all the like extra channels,
yeah.
That's true. Okay. We watch one, PBS. We didn't have a gym membership. I think I canceled that after I had Calvin, so we have stuff at home. If we want to go for a walk, we'll go for a walk. We have like little weights and stuff here. We don't think that it's like necessary to have a gym membership. That's something that we had back like before we got married and stuff. We always packed lunches. Justin takes leftovers a lot, and then he also keeps just like peanut butter and jelly supplies at his work. So, I mean, every once in a while, like if you really want to go out to eat or something, Justin goes out to eat with his brothers and stuff like that. But packing lunches saves so much money for the week. You know, if you're going to McDonald's and spending $5-10 every single day of the week, that adds up in the month for how much money you're spending on just like food that you totally could have just brought from home. So another thing I have here is monthly subscription boxes. We pretty much canceled a bunch of monthly subscription, you know, just like fun junk things. You know, like I used to have a couple like makeup subscription boxes and canceled those because it was all just a bunch of junk. It was just a bunch of random items, just stuff that was filling up my collection that I didn't need to be spending the money on every month. Like I said, we had no other debt. We had no student loans. My parents paid for my school. We didn't have any credit card debt. Like Justin had his car before we got married, and we haven't bought a new car since then.
Another big thing is my work is I get a yearly bonus, which is always a big thing. And then I think you got a bonus too when you worked.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, when we get our tax returns, we would always take that. So if we had something that we knew we needed to do, like when we did the landscaping or anything like that, we would always wait until we got either my bonus or got our tax returns. And if we didn't have anything, which was, I think, we had something to do with them every year except for maybe this last year, then we would put it towards the house.
Yeah, so anytime we had home improvement things to do, like we built a shed, we finished the basement, we did some landscaping and some like concrete patio out back and stuff like that. Any little home improvement projects, the money that we used to fund those was always like bonus money or tax return money, stuff like that. We didn't go into debt to like do things on the house. We always waited until we had extra cash around.
We wouldn't put anything, we'd never put anything like that on a credit card.
Yeah.
Because it's like the amount of interest you'd end up paying on that, it's just going to cost you way more. So it's just best to try to save up, pay cash for it, be done with it.
And we also kind of used our mortgage payment as like an emergency fund, where like one time we had to get a new water heater, our other one crapped out, and we didn't necessarily have like the cash on hand, but we put it on a credit card, going to pay it the next month when the credit card was due, and then we just paid less on that next month on the mortgage. So we kind of had like a built-in savings. All the extra money we were paying toward the house every month could be like an emergency fund of money that we would just kind of, you know, not pay as much the next month and then just pay off the credit cards. We've never rolled over our credit cards or anything like that. We always pay. Credit cards are meant to be, the way I see credit cards, they're just a convenient way to pay for things. It's more convenient than having cash on you, but we always pay them off the next month. It's a short-term loan meant to be paid when it's due the next month. And credit cards have good cash back. I always used my cash back points at Christmas time to kind of, you know, help buffer the extra spending that was going on gifts and stuff around Christmas time.
And then like before we even got a house, we went out to eat a lot. We did things a lot. So honestly, that first maybe 6 months to a year, getting used to not doing that and just saving our money, you know, it was kind of like, not that it sucked, but it was like, you know, I wish I could go do this and do that. But honestly, you kind of got used to it pretty quick. Mm-hmm. You know, after the 6 months or however long, it just kind of became habit. Like that's what we saw our payment was everything that we could almost at the end of every month. And you really start to feel good about yourself when you see your interest go down, you know, because everything you send extra goes to principal, and then therefore your next month's interest is based off of your total, and so your interest goes down. And we dropped our interest like quick, and it was just being able to see the interest go down and more go to the principal was just like, it just made you feel good and made you more happy, I guess, about what you were doing. You
could really see the effect that your extra payments were having. And so you can get on like our mortgage app or whatever and see how much we've been paying, how much the interest was separate from the actual like principal payment and stuff like that. So we were always looking at that kind of stuff. We always knew like pretty much exactly how much we owed every month after each payment. So always looking at it and seeing it all the time definitely helped reinforce it.
And then another big thing is there was a couple times probably last year that I always got online and I checked, like as soon as our payment went through, I'd just go on there, just kind of check everything. And I noticed that a couple times they were taking our payment and charging it for that month and then charging us for the following month. So we're paying, we ended up calling, we called like right away and got it changed back, but we were basically ended up paying more because they were charging us for this month and this month instead of just putting all that extra to the principal. They were putting it towards the next payment.
So the way they would take our payment and just put the minimum payment toward like March, and then they would take all of the extra payment and put it toward April's payment. So we were getting charged like the extra, I don't know,
I mean, it didn't come out to be a lot. It was like $7.
It was only the last couple months though. Yeah. So if it had been toward the beginning, it could have been a significant amount of money. Yeah. And
it was just, luckily we caught it, but yeah, we were basically paying a month ahead at a time. Yeah.
So they were being,
I don't know if it was an accident
weird, but it happened a couple times. I don't know. It was just kind of
it probably happened until like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, and it was just the last few months where we were getting like really close to being to the end of our our mortgage. So like,
and then so I ended up doing it online, and doing it online, I never had an issue. It was just how much how much extra you paying, put it in there, and calculates it all.
Even though we always put on there, you know, because it has like a space where you say like, this is the regular payment and this is my extra payment. Yeah. Even though you actually fill it out to like do it correctly, they were still.
Yeah. So either someone didn't know what they were doing or they were just trying to make more money. I don't know.
So, like I said, we both don't have car payments. My car is old. It's a 2002. Justin's car is relatively new. We just don't see the need to buy a new car every couple of years like so many Americans do. It's just not necessary for us.
Yeah, she drives like...
I drive like maybe 30 miles a week. If you know, because I'm not working anymore, and so I don't really have... I go to the grocery store. That's about the exciting distance that I go. So we always have meal planned and try to make like more limited grocery shopping trips. I always write out what we're having for the week and buy groceries based on that. We do keep a lot of extra stuff around the house. Like I always have random things in the pantry that are just like staple items for us. So if there were ever a time where we like just didn't have the money to go to the grocery store, we literally have enough food in this house to last a couple of weeks. We could survive. But also, if you make a list and know what you're going to the grocery store for, you're not gonna buy a bunch of random junk you don't need. And it's better for your health. You're not buying like a bunch of chips and cookies and stuff. And it's better for your wallet because you're not spending money on stuff you don't necessarily need.
Well, even she's been using like the Walmart pickup. Yeah. And same thing, you know, you're not in the store walking. Because you can definitely tell the difference when she does the Walmart pickup versus when we go in. Because we'll go in and I'll see something. I'll go, oh, you know what, I'll get those. And oh, you know what, let's get those. And you end up spending like probably $100 or so more than you intended. Yeah. And cooking from scratch, I say we have a pretty good balance of cooking from scratch. And like the big thing that we like just make is like frozen pizzas. Those can get a little bit expensive if you're having them all the time and like going out to eat. But for the most part, we pretty much cook all kinds of things from scratch. So that saves a bunch of money instead of eating just like microwave meals or whatever. Mm-hmm. Oh, we did like to use Justin's Christmas bonus money as like our Christmas present fund money. So we always could rely on Justin's Christmas bonus to be that extra money. So we didn't like some people might save like $50 every month throughout the year to have like a bunch of money to spend at Christmas time. But we always relied on Justin's Christmas bonus money to be our Christmas fund. So like Justin was talking about earlier, like any large amount of extra money we had went straight to the mortgage. Any kind of like leftover tax refund money or other bonuses and stuff that always went straight to the mortgage. We haven't taken really any vacations. We took our first vacation as a married couple last fall and that wasn't very expensive. No. We went with my whole family and we just drove and everything, but it wasn't necessarily intentional. It's not like we were like, oh, we can't take vacations because we need to save money. It was more like, I don't want to take toddlers on vacation, so we just didn't. And I'm not a big vacation guy. Honestly, if I take a week off work, I'd rather stay at home and do things. See, I grew up taking vacations every year, so I like taking vacations, but our ideas of what a vacation is are very different. So like even trying to decide on what we would do for a vacation would probably just be a pain in the butt. Mm-hmm. So we did make, this is probably going to be the big thing everybody wants to hear. We did make one stock investment that made us a bunch of money to put toward the house. We invested something like 13 grand. So we invested, so it was what, through your work, and you had to buy $10,000 worth of shares at first. So we saved up $10,000. We didn't pay extra on the house for 6 months. 6 months. Took us 6 months to save up. So we saved up 10 grand, put it into her work, and their quarters were like every 4 months? Every 3 months. Every 3 months. And so we got very lucky because the first quarter like, it went up like 7 grand. We made 7 grand off our 10 grand. So we had $17,000. So we made 7 grand on that first one, and then so we decided to save up the 3 more grand. So we could buy $10,000 more dollars. So we had $20,000 total in the share or in the stock. But then right after we put that in there, it kind of just sat for a year. Until right around when she was quitting, and then we ended up making another 8 on top of the 20. So we invested $13,000-ish, and we ended up making $28,000. So minus the 13, so we ended up making 17. Yeah, and it was over a 2-year period, I think. Yeah. So in 2 years, we were able to almost double the money. Yeah, double the money. So I think I play a little bit with stocks using, I think it's Robinhood. I mean, if you're smart about it, it's a great, you know, if you know what you're doing and you know what you're looking for, and we kind of looked into it and everything, it's a great way to, you know, try to make some extra money. But you also got to remember you don't pay taxes on that. When you cash it out, you got to pay it with your taxes at the end of the year.
So that stock was through my work, and they're not public, so like I couldn't get my money out until I quit working. So that's part of the reason why I quit, is because we were ready to pay the house off. So I quit my job, got that stock money out, and was able to put it toward the house. So we ended up putting 13, 14, how much did we put on? No.
15 something, 14 something.
So we took 14 of that 28 and put it to the house to finish paying off the house. And then, so right now we have like 14 grand just laying around ready for us to buy a new car eventually.
And like it ended up, so like what we saved up was how much we owed when we paid the house off. So it's essentially like we paid the house off. So we would have paid the house off the same amount of time regardless. But it's like we've been able to save up for a year with the extra money that we've got.
I just feel like you could explain that better.
Well, what do you want me to say?
So like, if we hadn't made that stock investment, we still would have had this house paid off like right now at about the same time, because we paid the 14 grand or whatever that was left on the house. That's how much we had saved all the months that we weren't paying our mortgage extra in order to save up the money for the stock. Does that make more sense?
Makes same sense, I said, but I guess it's more for...
So the stock has enabled us to have the leftover 14 grand to just have in savings right now. Whereas if we wouldn't have made that stock investment, we would just be like at zero right now with no savings, but no house payment either. So another thing that other people might tell you, other, you know, like debt-free programs might say, is to have like an emergency fund before you even start paying off stuff. We never had an emergency fund. Sometimes we might have a couple $100 just kind of like in the basement, like laying around or whatever, but we never had like a steady like amount of money that we wanted to keep as an emergency fund. The way that we saw it, like we had that built-in money in our mortgage that we were paying every other month, you know, and then also if we really, really needed some money or something, we could always rely on our parents to borrow money. Both of our parents have significant savings, and so if we really needed money, we could have just gone to them, but we never ended up having to borrow anything from anybody. We just didn't find it necessary to have a big savings sitting around or anything, not like an emergency fund or anything. And if you guys are like interested in all of the like nitty gritty, like how much we spent on like gas and groceries and like how much money we made and stuff like that, I will leave a link down below to my blog post where I will have a lot more details on all of this stuff in case you guys are more interested in like reading into all of that stuff. So I will have a link down below for that if you guys really want to check it out. And if you guys have any other questions, you can leave them down in the comments. If there's another topic that you would like to see like a full other video on, you can leave that down in the comments as well. Pretty much there's not like just this magic secret thing that helps you pay your mortgage off quickly. It's just about consistency, living below your means, making your mortgage the #1 priority, which I think is the biggest thing. Whatever money we had left over at the end of the month, we threw it onto the mortgage. If we knew, you know, I knew how much money we would need for the next month to survive, everything but that little bit of money to survive went straight to the mortgage every time. So like I said, even though our income varied a lot, every month we just kind of determined how much money we needed in the bank and then sent everything else to the mortgage.
Yeah, and I think it's a big thing, like I said, you just need to look at everything you're spending money on that you don't necessarily really need, that you could probably live without.
Yeah, if you just sat down and made a list of all the stuff that you spend money on, I'm sure there would be plenty of things that you could cut out. And it's not like Justin said, there's a little bit of a learning period where you're kind of adjusting to living with less stuff and buying less stuff and spending less money. But after you get through that little bit of time, it's easy peasy. It's very part of our everyday. It's just how we live. We don't spend a bunch of random money.
And then things come up all the time. I mean, there's plenty of times that we were only able to make the minimum payment. It's not like we always paid that much extra. We just tried to pay the most that we could. but we never really went over $2,500 unless it was like when we had our taxes or a bonus.
So like I said in the beginning, this was always our goal to pay off the house in 5 years. Our goal was, we've always wanted to have 4 kids, that I would work when we had the first 2 and then I would be able to stay home with the second 2. And so we've actually been able to pull it off a little sooner than we thought we would have.
So like we said earlier, a lot of people think there's this big secret, but that's really all it breaks down to, is looking at things that you don't necessarily need, cutting things out, and you don't have to necessarily do it all at once. You could just try one thing at a time, see how it goes, and you'd be surprised how much money you save just not going out to eat, getting rid of TV, trying to not buy a new car if you don't absolutely have to have one. Just things like that just adds up over time, and really that's like, I'd say the big secret behind it is just not getting what you don't need. Yeah, everybody comes to these videos trying to hear about some magic pill that will make you pay off your mortgage super fast, but looking over our list when we decided we wanted to film this video for you guys, when we got to the end of reading the list of things that we save and things that we don't do to save money, we were just like, this is gonna be a boring video, because like there's not really a big thing. You feel like there's more to it than when you're doing it than when you actually sit down and look at what it all. But yeah, that's all it really comes down to being. So yeah, that's about it for today's video. Like I said, leave your comments down below if you have any questions, or go check out the blog post if you want to see like any of like more nitty-gritty details and stuff like that. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you guys next time.